Good morning and welcome back to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today's episode is looking at BIFA's good practice guides, more specifically our newest guide to know your customer. And we're joined by Robert from our policy and compliance team to tell us more. So Robert, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Now I know kind of updating this guidance, it's been a long project. So can you tell us exactly why we've done that?
Yes, it has been a long project, and of course we were doing the standard trading
hmm
conditions at the same time, and the two strands sort of
Yeah.
meshed together. Um, the aim of due diligence is to prevent a problem
hmm
before it
Yeah.
occurs. It's not perfect. There is no single
No.
perfect piece of information or data, but it is about um, collecting the data. And I mean, some of these guidances, notes are in a way educational,
hmm
because they're trying to guide our members on how to use data that they have obtained. And some of it is quite new to members. I mean, I'll be quite honest, the work on Companies House, um, which has changed its function from just collecting, but actually now verifying the
Yeah.
data. So the next stage is how do our members actually use that data? And that's one of the purposes of this particular guidance. Um, what I will say is there is a cautionary note of this. Whatever data you see, take with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it's not actually particularly well verified. As somebody said the other day to me, they said, computers and systems have data. It's you who's got to add the intelligence to
Yeah.
this side of it. Okay.
So when we look at kind of the guides as a whole before we get onto this one in kind of specifics, what do those topics cover?
Okay. Right. Well, obviously, this is
Mhm.
the one we're talking about in the main. We are looking at also other elements of members' relationship
Mhm.
with clients, and in particular the onboarding
Yeah.
process. So we've actually updated the due diligence on doing credit checks,
Mhm.
which also includes about onboarding them,
Yeah.
some of the information about incorporating the standard trading conditions. And there is a cautionary tale on this because the one thing people must remember when you're looking at the credit and financial arrangements between the member and the client is that these due diligence checks, in a way, should be ongoing.
Yeah.
Now, there might be a trigger point that says, well, I am going to have a look at
Mhm.
this because maybe they're late paying or
Yeah.
something like that. So that's the sort of thing. The other thing is to look at the due diligence on an individual shipment
Yeah.
basis. Um, Not a perfect science, but you can use some of the denied parties screening um, software to highlight either countries or individuals who you really shouldn't be doing business
Yeah.
with. What else have we looked at? We have obviously looked at anything to do with the STC.
Mhm.
We've looked about insurance and the release of bills of lading
Yeah.
and those. So it's quite a big update.
Mhm. So that's kind of the project as a whole, like we said. But
Mm.
when we're looking at this document in specific, what would you say are the most important points that our members need to take on board?
Well, the first thing is to look at what information needs to be gathered,
Mhm.
and there's quite a big matrix in there. Members can use all of it
Yeah.
or some of it. I suppose some may have their own views on what they want to do and use none of it. But that's the point.
Mhm.
There is this matrix. It's what is the data that Companies House is available and how can you use
Mhm.
it and how to use it on a risk assessment
Yeah.
basis. And we talk about green, red, and amber lights. So it's just like the traffic light
Mhm.
system. So I think that is important. Um, the important thing I think is that we emphasise is to gather the information in a systematic way, and you're not going to get everything in from one
No.
place. Companies House have got some. You might have to use customs for the VAT and the ORI checkers and that sort of thing. So what do you need and where do you get it from? So
Mhm.
that's the other one. The important thing is, and actually the most interesting thing is find the gaps.
Yeah.
where are the gaps,
Mhm.
and to ask the questions about that. Um, and then, of course, then it's interpreting the data. And we can't go in that, but we do look at it in the
Yeah.
guidance. Um, and I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to ask questions.
No, of course.
Why are you coming to us, particularly if it's an unsolicited approach? So, that's really the main things that we're considering.
And just finally, with this guidance, what are we kind of hoping to achieve? What can our members get out of it?
Well, I think we have to accept that the last few years have been some of the most turbulent in freight forwarding
Yeah.
history. Whether or not it's been the tariffs in America and the disagreement between them and the Chinese, leaving the European Union, um, our members actually don't get impacted by certain things that
Mhm.
I see. For instance, the growth of the grey fleet,
Mm.
which is particularly for the oil industry. But there is a lot of stuff going on out there. So I think that's the first thing
Yeah.
is um, you are in a more turbulent world, and you've got to actually increase what you do in due diligence and devise your own policies. Um, it's very difficult because ours is a fast-moving transactional-based
Yeah.
business. We do see, things come across that shouldn't be, maybe, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So understand your client's business and trading patterns, and that can be done at the onboarding
Yeah.
process. So where are your main markets? Where are your main routes? What are you selling?
Mhm.
And just try to keep an eye on it. And I know that's difficult. I mean, we had a shipment the other year, it was actually last year, and the member phoned us up and said, I've been asked to send this shipment to Abu Dhabi. And I
Mhm.
said, yep, fine. And they said, the only problem is it's marked for Tehran. Now,
Yeah.
Tehran is a sanctioned and embargo country. So, we were able to help the member with that. Which actually then brings us on to what is being shipped.
Yeah.
If you're moving textiles, for instance, and then all of a sudden you get, high-end semiconductors, that's the sort of thing
Yeah.
that you have to consider. Consider the use of um, screening.
Mhm.
There are numerous software um, uh, packages
Yeah.
for denied parties, and often they will cover the American denied parties as well. So that's quite an important thing to consider. I mean, I don't want to be gloomy about this, but we've seen new guidance come out from DBT
Yeah.
about sanctions on Russia and
Mhm.
what not to do. Um, there were also increased guidance on North Korea
Yeah.
and also on Iran.
Mm.
So, you're seeing a pattern of this.
Yeah.
Things are getting tougher, and as the intermediary, I'm afraid the freight forwarder often will find themselves as piggy in the middle on these matters.
Yeah. Of course. Right.
Okay,
Well, thank you, Robert, for the update.
that's my pleasure. And I hope our members are able to use the guidance in order to avoid problems.
Yeah. Of course, that's kind of the main thing that we
That's
want.
the main thing. Avoidance is much better than cure in this
Of
case.
course. That's great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
As Robert said, this guidance is available on our website and it should also be read in conjunction with our guidance for the STC. Again, that is also available on our website, so we'll pop a link to both of those in the description below. That's all for today's edition of BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information.